Cole Alcoholic.
Cole.
Yeah. Thanks, Dom, for sharing. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Like, I didn't think I'd be that fearful. But as soon as the preamble started getting read, it hit me. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to go on with it, I guess. Yeah, for me, it's like, I never really thought I'd be here, to be honest. No, but never in my life did I think I'd be an addict or an alcoholic. Oh, I'd be in rehab for 3 times. But I guess I'll start at the beginning of it. For me, I had a pretty normal childhood, I'd say. Came from a pretty well-off family. You know, a couple, 2 brothers, 1 sister, and I didn't really remember anything really bad, unusual when I was a child. Like in my primary school, I was quite popular in school. I was good at sports. I was good at chess. I will say, like, when looking back at it though, how entitled I was at everything, because I was that cool kid in primary school. I'm the chess champion. Only I'm allowed to use the chessboard. Or things like that. For me, my family was rich. I could get the coolest things. And that's how I used to think. I was better than everyone else because my parents were rich. But I guess for me, I think when the wheels started to fall off was when I went to high school. Because, I used to be this cool kid in primary school, and I went to a high school with lots of hierarchy, lots of all these different traditions and things, and I couldn't really handle it. I had to greet people by their names. If I didn't really remember the names, get shouted at. That blew me away. And I guess in high school, there was a lot of fear there. I started calling my parents every day at like midnight, asking them to take me home because I couldn't handle the stress of not being where I wanted to be because I couldn't change the rules that I wanted. Waking up early in the morning, I didn't want to do that. I want to wake up later and go to school. But I guess I was like, with my earliest thing that I used to fix off of, obviously, was with video games. It was my little escape, from reality. When I wasn't at school, I was playing video games. It took me out of my stress, took me out of my anxiety. Didn't have to do homework, didn't have to worry about exams. Nothing like that for me. All those fears would disappear for me. Just like when I started drinking for the first time, same feeling. And I guess through school I still carried on. I started seeing psychologists early, and I went on antidepressants 14 when I started high school, and like no one really knew what was wrong. But when I saw my psychologist when I was 15, they already said I was an addict, and I didn't believe them. I was like, how would you tell? I haven't even had a drug yet. I haven't even drank yet. Like, how do you know? But for me, I just didn't really know what to do, what was wrong with me. I just wanted to feel good. I just wanted to be normal when I was in high school. So I tried to fit in. I started to do other things people did. All these different masks to work with different groups. Like many people here, I would do the same thing. But it never really worked for me that way. So I guess I found my drink when I was 16, New Year's Eve, in Mozambique with my brother. And I remember when I drank, it was the best feeling I ever felt, really. Everything felt warm, everything felt nice. I was happy. I felt like this was me. And I think that's what I always wanted to feel like once I started drinking, once I started using. Needless to say, I started to fight with my parents more when I was back at school in grade 10. I had a huge fight with them. And they took away my computer, so end of the world. So I moved on to drugs. Next thing I could find. I always fixed off something. I forgot to mention that through my high school, that's something I did. So I used to play games with this guy, and I didn't know it at the time, but he was grooming me, convincing me I was gay or something like that. And I had no clue. I thought it was perfectly normal. And I don't really remember any of this. But from what my parents told me, it's like I was planning to run away to go to this guy out of all my insanity, because this person was my friend now. And I kind of use that as a justification for a lot of my life, for a lot of why I was messed up, for a lot of why I could do these things. I'm traumatized. For me, I couldn't really take responsibility for anything, even though I did all that stuff myself. I chose to speak to that person. I chose to let that stuff happen. And then I never really thought about how it affected my parents, how worried they were for me. I left suicide notes, so I'm running away as well after that didn't happen. and they had sleepless nights. They worried about me all the time. I remember I got physical fights with my dad, threw him against the wall, all these times. Yeah, but I still carried on with school, somehow passing, somehow playing sports when I had time with all these masks. I thought I'd feel better if I was good at rugby, so I started going to gym. I started getting better at rugby, and I made first team. And when I was going to play my first game for the first team, I chickened out because I was sick now. I pretended to be sick, because I was so fearful. I couldn't handle playing against Glenwood. Because we weren't going to win. And then I got shipped off to my first rehab, which was a psych ward. And I found all these things, these meds and all these things they put in me and all these pills. And I was so happy with that. I was so happy to be on all these different things that didn't make me feel like I was not okay. So that made me feel okay. And to top it all off, I got into a dishonest relationship in my psych ward with a perfect girl. She was a model. And my life was complete there in that psych ward. I was in there for 3 weeks, and I had a great time, to be honest. And I come out and I start all my shit again. Sorry for swearing, but that's how I usually go. I'd be fine for a day or two or a week, and then I start fighting with my parents again. I don't want to go back to school. COVID started when I was in high school in Matric, so I wasn't going to school. We were doing online. All I did was play games during my classes online, and I thought it was perfect. And then I had to go back to school, and I didn't want to go back, so my parents sent me to another rehab. This was another 12-step rehab, but I wasn't really ready, and I was still on meds there. I didn't really want this. I still wasn't an addict or an alcoholic. I remember convincing my counselors there that my parents were the problem, and they got my parents to go to family therapy, and I was fine. I went off back to school. RHT'd early, and it's like, and obviously I'm still the problem. I didn't think I had it. I was in massive denial. And somehow I finished matric, lowest marks you could have, and I got into university. A miracle of my parents paying money. They never really gave up on me, and I still caused them so much pain and so much sleepless nights, and so much terrible things happened to them. While I was sleeping fine, I was staying up at night doing my things, and they were just worrying about me. And then I went off to university. It was a close place by us, but I wanted to move out, so my parents wouldn't know what I was doing anymore, so I could be free, because they were the problem, not me. I just really wanted to be free from them, because if they're not holding me back, I can do what I want, and I can be normal. I can do whatever I want to be. So I went to university for 2 days. Then I stopped going to university. I went to my friend's house every day instead, to go play games, to go drink, to go use. Eventually, they found out when the university called them after a couple of months, saying, "Where is this at?" And somehow I manipulated them to say, "You know what? I'm trying hard next semester. I want to go back." And the same story happened again. And again, I got into another fight with my dad, and kicked me out the house. But I manipulated him to pay for where I was going, like I always do. And I think I discovered that my parents weren't the problem when I was away from the house. Because it was the same thing happening again. I was just using more and drinking more and playing more games, going to S university until one day the next semester. And I remember thinking it must be the medicine that's the problem. So I tried to go cold turkey on the medicine and all these different things, and I felt cuck. And I think I started to have a little rock bottom mentally and emotionally, because I was cold turkey off my medicine. I was feeling the withdrawals, and I was staying in my room all day. I wasn't eating properly. I wasn't showering. I wasn't sleeping. Not changing the bed sheets. Not changing my clothes. It was just a bad place to be in. I remember my dad came to visit me one day, and he asked me how I was, and I just broke down really. I say, I don't know what's wrong with me. I didn't ask for help. But he said, "Do you want to go to rehab?" I said, "No, I'm fine." And he said, "Oh, do you want to go to the streets?" "I'm going to rehab." That's exactly what I didn't want to go to the streets. I can't live on the streets. But I went into rehab, my last rehab I went into. I went into thinking I was going to have a jaw again like I did with all my other places. But I got there, I went in there, still in full denial of things. I just have a problem with weed and games. Nothing else. I still want to talk, right? So I'm sitting there, have a visit with my parents, saying it's going to suck for not drinking, my sister's wedding coming up. I didn't even think about it, or I just was thinking about drinking when I went there. I got my sponsor in treatment. I didn't really listen to him much when I got there. But yeah, when I got my first concern, I think that kind of broke me down a little bit. It was a simple thing. It's like you didn't do a spiritual duty and you keep making euphoric recall. And I broke down. I don't know why. I think my whole delusional world started collapsing because I wasn't perfect. And I was crying in this meeting, this concern group. And it kind of broke me down a little bit. It broke me down enough to get on my knees for the first time to pray. Because at first I remember telling my counselor that I'd rather pray to the fucking dogs than do anything. And I did pray to the dogs eventually. But I mean, treatment for me, I started to get it a little bit. Like little bit by little bit. It was very drip at the beginning for me. I started to learn about step 1, started writing the steps. Didn't really get it in the first 2 steps, but after my last story, I got hammered. All these things. Like I told, I was a garden variety junkie. I wasn't special and different. And I also got reminded that I used to hide all these vodka bottles and all these drinks under my bed that I completely forgot about. And I think that kind of broke me. I was like, oh, I do have a problem. And from there, I'd like to say it was perfect, but it really wasn't. It's been a bumpy year. But I carried on with the steps. And I was kind of nearing towards the end of my 3rd month. And one of the counselors came to me and it was just like, they asked me, do you want to stay another month? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll go speak to my sponsor. Like I was keen for it at first. So I went to see my sponsor. I spoke to him. I think I should stay a 4th month. Like, okay, staying a 4th month. And then straight after that with my sponsor, he said, straight after that, I remember there was going to be my 1-year anniversary with my girlfriend, one of my new girlfriends, right? So now I'm panicking because I don't want to miss it. I'll be in treatment. So I devised all these new plans and all these ways to escape treatment, but not IHTing like that. So I'm going to see my parents. When I told them I'm fine, it's time for me to go home. So my next visit with my parents, I'm telling them, you can sell my laptop, you can do all these things, I'll do whatever you want. Try to be very manipulative. And then they went to go see the counselor straight after that. And obviously they told her everything that was going on. And I was house leader for 5 days. But I guess it's what I needed. I sat there very angry for weeks. Didn't give a single step 11 to my sponsor out of spite and resentment. It's what I needed. And I think after that, I went down to halfway, where I was also very faulty the first couple of months. I was very lazy. I didn't want to change. I kept going home all the time to avoid staying at halfway and doing what I could do when no one was watching me and concerning me. But I kept getting the same concern like every single week. You're lazy, you're not doing anything. Keep going home. And I didn't want to change, because I was comfortable being like that. That's what I normally used to do, did nothing. And in the comfort of my parents. Yeah. But, eventually that brought up too much pain for me. It wasn't working. I could feel how the disease really creeping up on me. And eventually I thought I wasn't an addict anymore. I thought I wasn't an alcoholic anymore. I'm back to normal. I'm good. But luckily I had the people on halfway to help save me. They really brought me out of it. I got my other sponsor, my new sponsor that I had. He helped me a lot. And I think I was able to finally change when I first mowed that lawn. For the first time, it took me weeks to mow the lawn for the first time. I've never done it before, and I was trying to figure it out. I didn't know how. But I had a great time when I mowed that lawn for the first time. I know the share's been everywhere, but I'm just rattling it off the top of my head. And I think after that I started doing H&I. I started doing service. I started doing service positions. And those things all really helped me pull me out of myself. Yeah, I started going to the beach more. Someone told me to go to the beach. I started bodyboarding. He wanted me to surf. I said no. That's the cooks. Yeah, it's like I've had a great time since then. I mean, I worked here for a while. This also helped me pull me out of my laziness until it burned down. I'm not saying who burnt it down, but yeah, it's fine now. And I've been working another job as a waiter. I never thought I'd be a waiter. I don't really like working with people, to be honest. Yeah, but I've been doing it to the best of my ability, and I've been working a lot lately. And I've still been able to maintain my recovery, speak to my parents, speak to my fellows, and have time with them, even when I work a lot now. And I haven't had a breakdown working. I'm working my program around it now. Yeah, I think for me, with the daily reflection, the only reason I could be where I am today is from my higher power. Because before, with my own power, all I'd be doing is sitting in my room and haven't showered for a week, my bed sheets dirty, haven't eaten for a couple of days because I'm too lazy to get up and go, eat, make food. Yeah, so, I guess for me today, I can make my own meals. I can shower every day. I can make my own bed. I clean my room. I can do all these things that normal people do now without breaking down. Yeah, I guess the 1 year for me, a lot of it was bumpy, but it's been the best time I've ever had, really. All the people that I've been able to speak to and help me. Yeah, it's like, so I'm really grateful for how I've got here, the relationship I have with my parents now. I speak to my mom every day. Like, the biggest resentment I had with my mom, she took away my stuff. It's like, I know it's really baby resentments, but I was resentful for her for years. I know my addiction wasn't really around substance too much, but I was so resentful to her. But now I have an amazing relationship. Wishing her happy new year, seeing her when I can. Yeah, and spending as much time with her as I can when I'm there, and not just isolating anymore as much as I used to. I'm not perfect. I'm very faulty still. I make faulty jokes. I say faulty things. But I do less faulty things though. I don't do as much faulty stuff as I say. Yeah, before it was a bit of a mess. My life was a huge mess. I didn't know where it was going. I just thought it was going to be white picket fence, doing nothing. My dad's going to die. I'm going to inherit it. That's kind of what I used to think. But now I can work for I can work for myself. I can pay for myself. I can buy my own food. I can pay for my own petrol. I can do all these things I never thought I could do. Yeah. What can I say? It's been an amazing 1 year. I can only really thank everyone who helped me. My sponsor, my higher power, everyone here. I know it's a bit of a weird share. I didn't really prepare for it at all. But yeah, I'm just going to hand it over to Dom. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul.